Welcome everyone to the second devlog of my game. In this video I will talk about changes in heroes movement, new mechanics, traps and camera work, building level prototypes, encountered bugs and things to fix, and what I want to add in the future. If you enjoyed the video and are curious about future episodes, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's move on to the first topic, which is the character's movement. There have been several key changes. The first one is the proper calibration of the dash. In the previous iteration it was too long, allowing for covering too much distance. There were several significant drawbacks to this. Using it was uncomfortable. Sometimes the character would overshoot the desired landing spot, although it was possible to cancel it with another key. In such dynamic situations where a millisecond count, it became cumbersome and very difficult. This also limited level design tailored to movement. Since the character could cover such a large distance, unnatural obstacles had to be introduced. It was also possible to increase the distance between the blocks to jump on, but empty spaces created an unpleased emptiness in the level view. It is also worth noting that the camera would have to constantly move, which is not ideal in this case. Therefore, the dash has been shortened. It now serves more adjusting the direction of movement. Another crucial aspect is jumping. Previously there were two options for jumping. Either you pressed and released the key quickly for a small jump, or you held the key a little longer for a maximum jump. In this variant there were only two options. The biggest drawback of this solution was wall jumping. Often the character would stick at a height where a weak jump was insufficient, and a strong jump was too high, causing you to fall into a trap or waste time landing on a block. This was very uncomfortable and also caused problems in other areas where the height of the trap simply prevented the correct use of the jump without dying. And first change I made, I implemented linear addition of power while holding the button up to a certain point. Unfortunately, this resulted in an unnatural effect, more like the character was flying. I decided to use curve to determine how much power is added at each stage of the jump. The effect is great. At any moment you can interrupt the jump at any height. In this way I achieved what I wanted. I must admit that sometimes I spend too much time just playing the game and testing levels because this movement is just addictive. Now let's talk about the content that has been implemented so far. For now, these are elements without graphics and animations. I decided it would be easier to create assets for existing elements in the game. So let's discuss them. There is a rotating blade that simply kills. A blade that follows a certain path and just kills. A rotating stick, which, as you can guess, also kills. And cannon. Guess what it does. There are also objects that disappear after coming into contact with the character. Boosters that speed up the character but only replenish the jump, which gives interesting possibilities for using them with other elements. For example, in a situation where to reach the second booster we need to use a jump and a dash. However, to fly over the next place we also need these two things. So, we can't use the jump immediately, we first need to replenish the dash by catching a disappearing block. Combined with jumping and dashing you can use momentum to cover really large distances. Another thing is falling block that drop when the character come into contact with them. An interesting idea occurred to me to use this block to activate other things like a gate. I call them activating blocks. They are intended to have graphics to look like activators. You need to bring such an activator to a junction, as a result of which some action happens. In the game I added cable connections. This is another thing that uses selectors. Cable connection is a skill-based puzzle that involves connecting cables to the correct sockets. Simple, right? Not necessarily, especially if something is shooting at you during this time or you're under pressure from rising lava. In case of failure, something bad happens every time. Otherwise, we will open up further paths. I have a lot of ideas for additional elements, however, I will probably present them in subsequent materials. Regarding the camera operation, I have added new modes that allow for greater freedom of movement. The basic camera mode involves transition between equal distances. This means that if we leave the area covered by this camera, it will be shifted by its width if crossing the x-axis or height if crossing the y-axis. However, this requires the use of transitions so that the player can see what's ahead. It's like transitioning from one room to another. Before opening the door, we can't see what's beyond. Only after crossing the threshold does the space become visible. Staying for a moment longer in this example, what if we wanted to merge two rooms into one? We only see half of the room. If we take a step, we might accidentally step on nails or hit our knee on the table edge. That's why I added an additional virtual camera that shifts the view to another part when the character collides with a switch. The switch toggles any camera mode. I also added an impulse effect to my virtual cameras. Impulses add effects to the realism of what is happening. Let's now move on the level building. I use one type of block to build the level prototype and add traps without ready-made assets. The aim is to test the level itself in terms of how it is completed, whether it is difficult and whether it is not boring. Basic criteria I follow at this stage are: each element must stand out. I don't want level progression to be monotonous and repetitive. Therefore, I try to design them in a way that requires thinking about how to pass them. Let's take this example. To proceed, we need to remove 2 layers of disappearing blocks. To do this, we need to plan where to jump in what order. We also can't remove previous blocks because there won't be anything to bounce off. The difficulty in passing should increase with progress in the game. Sometimes a level may be more difficult than a later one, but generally I stick to this assumption. The player should receive a new thing to deal with from time to time, different types of obstacles or mechanisms. Levels must be challenging and thoughtful. The game is supposed to be difficult and require many attempts. It should also not be common to skip obstacles. For example, if we encounter a level where we have to go down and jump on many blocks, the player might think, okay, I will jump from here and land on the last island. That's why I try to place obstacles in such a way that it is possible in the smallest number of cases. Since we have come to this point, it's worth showing that not everything is rosy. I will only show individual things that catch my attention right away, but there are probably more. The effects on the moving on falling blocks which should have put together with a block. This phenomenon here. And here the effect of sticking to the wall disappears when another one is approached. There is also the issue of jump and dash animations, mainly concerning the character's hair. It's particularly noticeable when the character rotates. It is very unnatural and needs to be fixed. These are things I forgot about or didn't think through. In any case, they will need to be addressed. As we approach to the end of this video, I would like to encourage everyone to join my Discord. You will find nothing yet, but soon there will be content related to the game. I'd also like to be a place that brings together game development enthusiasts and those interested in the topic. Finally, I'll add that I'll be uploading videos approximately once a month. In my opinion, this is the optimal time to gather new things worth showing. I also plan to record shorts, but I'm not sure yet how it will go. Thanks for watching this video, see you in the next one. Bye bye!